This is Hannibal here with the Daily Wrestling News Update. Before I get into the news, I forgot to mention yesterday that The Undertaker said recently on the podcast the reason why he never wrestled Sting in WWE despite wanting to wrestle Sting was that Vince didn't like him for whatever reason. He didn't see anything in that. It's funny because they ended up having Sting against Seth Rollins and Triple H, but the match everyone wanted to see was Sting against Undertaker, and supposedly Sting took huge paydays for that, just to put those two guys over. So The Rock apparently was the victim of a bunch of allegations in something called the Rap, where they claimed that he caused a $50 million increase in the film's Red One budget due to him being 1 to 8 hours late a day, among other reasons. And this is just stupid. They said, and to me, it's stupid. I am from wrestling, but in wrestling, it's normal to piss in water bottles. Like say you're driving or something, and you don't want to stop between the next town. You piss in a water bottle, or if there's no bathroom around. A lot of these independent shows, these crappier ones, which is why I don't do the shittier ones. The Great North Wrestling wrestles in arenas. Sometimes there's no bathrooms in the dressing room, so you pee in a bottle or something rather than go out and use the fan bathrooms. They're acting like it's horrible that apparently he pissed in a water bottle on set and gave it to his personal assistant to dispose of. Who cares? Do you know how much his personal he's the highest paid movie actor in the world from what his dad told me. If his personal assistant has to dispose of a water bottle that has piss in it, who cares? It's not like he's peeing on the personal assistant. I used to work a job with violent people with developmental disabilities, and one of them would piss his bed as one of the behaviors, and I was making like $14 an hour in those days, and that fucking sucked. So you got the biggest movie star in the world giving you a bottle of piss because he doesn't want to waste time going to the bathroom, pees in the water bottle, and asks you to throw it out. I don't know. To me, that's grasping at straws here. Apparently, despite reports he was not late for WrestleMania, as this article stated, he was 3 hours late for a fan fest during WrestleMania weekend, but WrestleMania itself, he was not 3 hours late. And that's confirmed by Dave Meltzer from people that he knows in WWE. He was on time for WrestleMania. As far as what Amazon MGM said about him allegedly costing $50 million to the show for being late. First of all, how could you be late 8 hours a day and the show still happen? They're claiming that he only wanted to work 5 hours a day in this article, so he was purposely late. But MGM is saying it's completely normal to be budget fluctuations, and $50,000 is only 15% increase in the target, and they and 15% increase in the budget is normal. I mean, that's just like wrestling events. You plan a wrestling event according to a budget, and Jack Kilby sadly found this out the hard way last year at the GNW Ottawa show. And there's always little costs that come up that aren't expected. So could he have been late some of the time, and could he have been an hour late? He's the star of the movie, the biggest movie star in the world, and he actually transcends movies for his work in wrestling and football, everything else he does. As far as this is something interesting, Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio. Apparently, behind the scenes, there was a lot of people working against The Rock versus Roman Reigns. So he wasn't specific about who didn't. Obviously, people didn't want it. That's why it didn't happen. But there was more factors to it than just pleasing the Cody Rhodes fans, which, by the way, with Cody Rhodes as champion, SmackDown just did its lowest rating of the year. And Cody and AJ Styles, who, by the way, I beat 2 times in one night when AJ was IWGP champion in New Japan. They haven't even sold out the arena in France, which is not a stadium. They only got about 12,000 tickets sold, and it's the first ever pay-per-view in France. So I'm pretty sure if Roman Reigns was headlining that, it would have been sold out. In other news, they've only announced 5 matches for the pay-per-view. Tama Tonga is making his debut on that pay-per-view, Haku's son. NXT for their spring breaking special featuring Natalia, the 0.14 rating, second lowest of the year. Apparently, AEW last night, they've announced 4 matches for their Double or Nothing pay-per-view. The main event will be their current world champion, Swerve Strickland, against Christian Cage. Didn't Christian Cage just lose the TNT title to Edge, which is like a lower title than the world title? How does he get a world title shot? How does that make any sense? You lose a world title, or you lose. That's like in WWE, you lose an intercontinental title match. Like let's put it in WWE terms. If Gunther just loses to Sami Zayn, why would Gunther get a Cody Rhodes shot? But according to AEW booking, you lose for a secondary title, you're in a world title shot. International title, I have zero interest in watching this. Roderick Strong defends against Will Ospreay, which obviously Will Ospreay is going to win that. It's AEW Women's Championship. Toni Storm, who I saw one of her promos from the ECW arena WrestleMania weekend. I don't get how people like her. She defends against Serena Deb, who I'm not familiar with. Zero interest in any of those 3 matches. TBS title, Will Nightingale against Mercedes Moné, who obviously that's her first match back. That one I would like to see just because it's her debut match. I did watch the Chris Jericho versus Shibata match from AEW last night. They put it on the website. It looked like the whole top level of the arena was curtained off, and they were only showing the lower side of the one arena. They had only about 3,600 pre-sold for that one. And then at the end, my old friend Big Cass, aka Big Bill, um, he interfered to help Chris Jericho. So hopefully he gets a shot at the title. Jericho was looking quite flabby in the match. And I find it weird that, okay, this is another example of bad booking. And I do like Shibata. I trained with him for a week. By the way, I'm much bigger than him. But they're in Winnipeg, and Chris Jericho's a heel. Why would you put him against a Japanese guy that most fans are not familiar with? Let's be honest here. Winnipeg. It's it's like a very industrial town in the middle of the forest. And the big hero of Winnipeg, even though apparently there wasn't even a pre-sale of 4,000 tickets for this show. For Chris Jericho, Winnipeg's supposedly favorite son, and Kenny Omega was on the show as well as Don Callis, also from Winnipeg. They put him against a guy that very few mainstream fans are familiar with, rather than like a guy like Moxley or Edge that everybody knows. And then they have Jericho as the heel, and then Big Bill interfere in the finish. Big Bill put Shibata through a table. It just doesn't make sense to me. If you're gonna make Jericho a heel in his hometown, put him against someone that people know. You have this big roster. Why don't they ever use Ric Flair? Somebody answer me that. He's still under contract? I saw him in an interview with Rampage Jackson a few weeks ago. They're having these horrible crowds. I think one of their best crowds in a long time is going to be in Vancouver for their AEW debut in Vancouver. They do have 5,000 pre-sold there. But like overall, they have terrible crowds, and like they have so many famous people. Like put Ric Flair on a poster for a show, and you're gonna have increased people coming to the show. I don't understand this, and putting the title on a guy that's a relative unknown. Who I'm a wrestling news person. I haven't even seen one of this guy's matches at a time when interest in the product is so low. It's weird. Someone says they didn't even have bathrooms on set. Well, the thing is, I mean, I'm no rock or anything, but I've done acting. I am in the Actors Union in Canada. I haven't tried recently to get acting jobs because I've had a really bad 2 years. But the bathrooms, the sets don't always have porta potties close to where you're filming, especially if it's remote location. So I don't see how pissing in a bottle and giving the bottle that's closed to a personal assistant to throw out is a big deal. Someone likes how Val Venus expresses views on The Rock. I have two interviews with Venus on this channel. Someone says the my draft book entries should be a movie. Well, there is actually someone I'm talking to right now about doing a documentary that that might be filmed around the August 20 or August 31st Great North Wrestling event in Petawawa that's going to feature the Warlord. But I got so much footage to collaborate all my stories, and I could get well, you're probably talking about an acted movie. That could be possible too. Grandma Daisy Piper is doing great. She is healthy and happy that it's getting warmer here. Big Bill has come a long way. I was supposed to wrestle him in SWE Fury with Melina managing him and Selena managing me back in June 2021. But Teddy Long canceled that match, and the company went out of business 3 months later. Teddy Long was a horrible booker. Um, someone whizzed in a bottle for The Rock. Good morning, Humble 85. Jericho is getting a bit long in tooth to wrestle high level. I agree with that. He is getting stale, but I do think if his contract with the AEW is good until December 2025, so he's going to be there a while. But I do think they could book him better in Winnipeg. Like I know Tony Khan loves the Japanese wrestlers and loves New Japan and thinks everybody knows who these guys are. But I've been to Winnipeg. I got second at the 2012 Canadian Olympic trials in Winnipeg. I was the alternate that year. And like it's a hick city. Like it's full of natives. And I like native. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it's like natives like the old school wrestling. There's a lot of natives that are wrestling fan, but in my experience with natives, they like the old school wrestling. They're not watching New Japan. And then it's like an industrial town in the middle of a forest. It's not a place where they're going to cheer a Japanese guy that they haven't heard of over the local hero. What happened to Lacy Von Erich? She had a stalker, apparently, from what she told me, and it really freaked her out. And she does not long, at least for the meantime, does not want it to be in the spotlight. And her kids are playing football now and stuff. I would like to. I'm sure I will eventually do a catch-up interview with her. She was part of the downfall of SWE Fury as well, due to her husband getting jealous that we were hanging out, sadly, and making up a story about me. but I do like Lacy and her whole family. Anyways, guys, have a great day. I'm going to do my review of the Sandman Dark Side of the Ring.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please help me out and like this video, then click the subscribe and get notifications buttons so you